So this video is about critical appraisal of a journal on diagnostics. So this is for evidence-based medicine. The objectives are to discuss the basics of EPM and to do an appraisal of an article that talks about diagnostic tests. Okay, so actually sa appraisal ng diagnosis, hindi siya kaagad na mag-appraise ka ng article because in EBM, there's what we call the EBM cycle. Okay, let me just show you this one ha. So, this one is the EBM cycle. It's the EBM process. You remember, this is the 5 A's of the EBM. Iba din yung 5 A's ng motivational counseling. This one is for the EBM process. So, it all starts here with asking. Okay? That's how we go about the practice of EBM. So, ano lang siya, one comes after the other. And everything starts with the first step, which is the question. Usually, there's a patient, you have a patient, you encounter a patient in the clinic, and then this patient asks you something. And sometimes, no, of course, we do not have all the answers. Everything was not taught in med school. So, most of the time, meron talaga tayong dilemma ba? We don't know what we are going to say. Or if we are going to say something, we are not that sure that we are saying that what we are saying is actually true. So it's what we call the clinical dilemma. Okay, it all starts with the question. Now there's you really have to have a question kasi dun naman kasi talaga magbibase kung anong kailangan mong hanapin. And when you make a clinical question, you have to follow these 4 components. You always have to remember one. P, I, C, O. And the P stands for population or the problem. The I for the intervention. C for comparison or yung gold standard or reference standard. And O is the outcome that you are looking for. Mind you, this is about the critical appraisal of a diagnostic test. So, dahil diagnostic test siya, there should always be a gold standard, a comparison ba? No? If you come across an article that talks about the validity, the ganito ganyan, sensitivity of a certain test, and yet, when you read on it, there's no gold standard to which the test is being compared to, ay nako, tapos na, you proceed with the next article kasi invalid na yung article na nakuha niyo first. So, it has to have the 4 components kapag diagnostics. Meron dapat gold standard. Okay? So, say, we have here an example. Say you are a doctor, may clinic ka na, tapos marami kang patient, marami kang elderly. Kaya lang with your elderly patients, you actually have to do a comprehensive geriatric assessment because the elderly, most of them will develop dementia. Right? However, when we do the MMSE, no, so that you are able to come up with a diagnosis based sa DSM-5 criteria, mukhang mahirap kasi masyadong madami, no? So the comparator is the DSM-5 criteria using the MMSE versus now the 6-item screener. And so you develop a question here na based on this PICO. Among patients with dementia, can SIS or the 6-item screener compared to this SM5 criteria using the MMSE? No? detect dementia. Yun na ngayon, kung ito bang 6-item screener mo. So, after you ask, you actually acquire. That's the time that you acquire. And when we say acquire, that means you are looking for the best evidence available. Acquire. Ayan, search the literature and online databases for applicable research data. Marami tayo niyan. May PubMed, di ba? Meron tayong up-to-date. By the way, we have an up-to-date subscription sa hospital natin. And then, may Cochrane, may Trip Database, Dynamed, sa BMJ, baba. So far, yun lang ang usually na ginagamit ko in acquiring evidences for EBM. So, yan. There is a separate discussion on how to find evidence, how to acquire. For now, let's jump to the third step, which is appraise. Okay. Mind you, not everything in the internet and not everything that is published online, not everything that is published in the journal are all valid evidences. Not all are relevant to the disease nor the condition that you need them for. So kaya kailangan mag-appraise. Hindi kasi po kailangan na always maniwala lang just because na-publish ang certain study. No? So, okay. Let's proceed now with the appraisal. With appraisal, say for example, you already found an article, okay, na containing all of these elements. Say, so you have that particular question. Then, when you were reading the journal, ito yung nakita mo. Of the 651 patients having clinical dementia, 341 were detected using the DSM-5. Of these, 6-item screener was able to detect 278. However, 28 patients who found out positive for dementia using SIS were negative using the DSM-5. The trick here is, kailangan mo siyang himayin. Okay? Kailangan mo siyang himayin. And then, kailangan mo siyang i-label lahat para hindi ka mawala. Kasi this is critical. If you committed a mistake, if you put the numbers on the wrong squares, definitely the calculations that follow will be all wrong. Okay, mabaliktad-baliktad na po sila. So, what are you gonna do first? It's very important you to have to first draw the 2x2 square and correctly label. No? Correctly label. Alright, balik. Let's do it again. Okay. So, say you have a 2x2 table now. Okay? Right. Remember, put the label properly. So, lagay mo na kaagad dito ang positive, dito ang negative, dito positive, dito negative. Remember, ang dito sa itaas, dito po na side, dito na part, dito, lahat dyan dapat nakalagay yung gold standard. Yung C mo, yung sa Pico, yung C mo, dapat dyan. Whereas, dito na side, dyan yan yung intervention mo, yung test na tinitest mo against the gold standard. Okay? So, say for example, dito sa ating problem, we have here DSM-5 for dementia. Kasi siya ang gold standard eh. Okay? And then this one is SIS for dementia. Okay? This particular column po, are all positive using the DSM-5. Whereas all of this one, nag-positive for SIS. Okay? Remember that. Right. In the same way, in this column, all of those were negative for DSM-5. While all of these people here were negative naman for SIS. Okay? Remember that. Right. Now, it says here that of 651 patients having clinical dementia, that means all in all, lahat ng patient na nag-participate, it's 651. If nakalagay yan dyan, you put it right away dito sa gilid na total is 651. Okay? Sa 651 na yan, 345 were detected using DSM-5. So, where shall we put it? Dito sa A box, B box, C, or sa D? You might be answering na dito siguro, Doc. But, unfortunately, hindi. Kasi, yung 345 na yan were detected using the DSM-5. Dito, sa letter C na box, this one is still positive, oh. This is still positive for DSM-5. Hindi nga lang siya positive for SIS. So, in short, ano yung value na ilalagay mo dito? Diba? Alright? So, dapat, instead na dito ang ilagay ang 345, kasi kasali naman din yan siya sa whole row, dito mo siya ilalagay. Okay? Okay. Next, of these, sa 345 na yan, 6 items screener was able to detect 275. So, sa 345 daw na yan, 278 ang nag-positive sa CIS for dementia. So, saan mo siya ilagay? Dito or dito? Natural. Dito mo siya ilalagay. 278. Alright. Now, however, 28 patients who turned out positive for dementia, so dito daw, dito, the area, those who were positive for dementia, turned out negative using DSM-5. So, saan mo ilalagay ngayon ang 28? Dito sa B or dito sa D? Had to be sa, kasi turned out positive for dementia using SIS but negative for DSM. Natural C, letter B. So, we put number 28 here. Okay. All the rest you have to fill in na. So, let's fill them in na. 345 minus 278, that gives us 67. Okay? 278 plus 28, that gives us 306. 651 minus 306, that gives us 345. Okay? 345 minus 67, that gives us 200, that gives us 278. Okay? 278 plus 28 plus 278 equals 306. Alright? This one is the placement. The proper placement is very important. So, dito pa lang to not miss it. Okay. So, let's start. By the way, we are calculating already for the results part. Once you've proven that the article is valid and that it is relevant. So the third part is actually for the results, calculating of the results. Kapasa naman siya sa validity, sa results na. So again, we have it na here. The test for diagnostic accuracy, that includes sensitivity, specificity, positive predictive value, negative predictive value. Remember, when you are ang sensitivity and specificity go together. Okay? So, this, basta pababa siya, pababa, ito, whole thing na, at saka ito, yan sila sa gamitin mo na value for sensitivity and specificity. Now, sensitivity is the ability of the test to identify those patients who are truly positive. Meaning, may sakit sila na talagang may sakit sila. That's sensitivity. True positive. Dito si A, ito si true positive actually. So, the formula to get the sensitivity of this particular test is as follows. That's A plus A plus C. So, this one, 278 plus 278 plus 11. Ang answer natin is 81. Tama? Okay. The other one, ang specificity naman is true negative. To true negative na talagang wala sa both na test. To get the true negative, you have to do it. D divided by D plus B. So, the answer is actually 0.91. Now, just a tip. Okay. Kay Dr. Mao, for her to remember sensitivity, she uses SNOUT as the abbreviation or the mnemonic. Mine actually is, nalito kasi ako sa out. So what I use is SNP. So when you say SNP, that's sensitivity is positive for disease, such that when it is negative, wala ka talagang sakit. Negative ka talaga. That's why ganun yung sa kanya. But sa akin is, kung mataas ang sensitivity, then its ability to detect for a disease being really present is also high. But if it turns out to be negative, then that means you rule out the disease. Sa specificity naman, I use SPIN. Kasi specificity is, diba? Kanang true negative. So, specificity is negative for disease. Okay. Yan ang malala ko. Alright. So, after you calculate, you really have to label it properly para hindi po kayo mawawala. So, yan. We have 81% tsaka 91% na sensitivity and specificity for SSE. For SSI, SIS. SIS, for SIS. Okay. The next is you calculate the PPV and the NPV. PPV stands for positive predictive value, the ability to predict a positive result, and negative predictive value, the ability to detect negative result. So, kung ang specificity and sensitivity is paganyan, itong PV at saka itong mga PVs is pahiga. So, PPV, ito NPV. Okay? So, again, A plus B, the answer is 0.91. Ang negative predictive value is 0.81 kasi D plus C. Gets? Okay? D plus C. Okay, yan. Alright. Okay. After you were able to calculate that, you can now, you calculate those, you can now check for the pretest probability. So, the pretest probability is parang inkling mo, no, of what are the chances of the patient having the disease even without using the test yet. Yan ang pretest probability. So, say for example, let's see, here. Say for example, you have two Lolas, Lola A and Lola B. Lola A is 70 years old. She's well-groomed, conscious, oriented, came to your room, and yet she's complaining about having something wrong that is going on in her memory. But other than that, okay lang siya. To siya lang mag-isa, okay naman, walang problema ka. She doesn't look abnormal at all. Ayan. And yet here comes Lola B. Lola B, who is also your old patient, na long-time patient na, long-stander patient, 85 years old. She comes in with her son, which actually happened for the first time. And instead of her complaining, it's actually the son who's complaining that the mother, the patient, si Lola B, seems to be acting strangely, such that when he went to the house, he found the house to be all topsy-turvy, magulo, no? Parang may dumaan na bagyo. And then, minsan, nagsumbong ang neighbor na si Lola daw, naglalakad na parang wala sa sarili. Okay? But objectively, merong mga nakikitang changes sa behavior ni Lola B. And yet, Lola B is just sitting there in your clinic, looking at you, smiling warmly, as if walang problema, walang nangyayari. And then she just attempts to pass parang baliwala lang ang sinumbong ng son niya by saying na, well, I'm just not feeling well. Okay? Between Lola A and Lola B, who do you think is somehow demented? Diba? Even without testing, you have an inkling, being a doctor, that Lola B might have dementia more than Lola A. Lola A can have the dementia, and yet Lola B, you feel na Lola B has most probably a higher chances of having dementia. That's what pretest probability is. Okay? So, balik tayo. Again, we have to calculate for the pretest probability. And for this particular test, the pretest probability is 53%. So that's 345 pala. Sorry. 345 divided by 651. See, it's very important that you put the numbers, no? Mabilis na lang pag may numbers na. After the pretest probability, you are now going to check for the likelihood ratio. Likelihood ratio for the patient to have dementia if they turn out positive, and the likelihood ratio that the patient doesn't have dementia if the test turns out negative. So, to solve, these are the formula. When you say LR positive, sensitivity is always positive. So, sensitivity divided by 1 minus specificity. And then, kabaliktaran, ang likelihood ratio for negative, it had to be 1 minus sensitivity over specificity. And the answer will be as follows. Okay? Tama ba? You calculate it also. Okay. After you get the likelihood ratio, you will now convert pretest probability into pretest odds. Okay? The formula will be pretest probability divided by 1 minus pretest probability. And then you get the answer of 1.13. That's the pretest odds. Okay. Now, after you get the pretest odds, you use it so that you are able to get the post-test odds and the post-test probability. Okay? The post-test odd is calculated as follows. You take the pretest odds times the likelihood ratio rate for the positive test, and the result is 10.17. Okay? Sa post-test odds naman, you get the pre-test odds and multiply it against LR negative. No, this one. This one. So, the answer is 0.24. Actually, you can get already the post-test probability using the, what we call the nomogram. But, i-calculate na lang muna natin before natin i-nomogram para makita niyo ba paano ang flow. Okay? So, after you get the post-test odds, you now convert it into post-test probability. Post-test probability, it's the chances of getting a positive result after you use or if you use the test. So, in the same way, sa post-test probability, it's negative. The chances na magne-negative ang patient for a particular disease using this test. Okay. So, how do you do it? Parang binaliktad lang siya. So, post-test odds over 1 plus post-test odds. The answer is 0.91. Sa post-test na probability negative, ganun din. Post-test odds na negative, which is 0.24 divided by 1 plus the post-test. So, 0.24 divided by 1 plus 0.24, and the answer is 0.19. Okay? Ito yung normogram na sinasabi ko. Okay. Parang estimation siya ng post-test probability actually. So, here's what you do. Diba? Let's plot muna. Sa pretest probability, the pretest probability is around 53, right? So, I can put it here. Oopsie. Let's put it here. 53. It's 53. And then, the likelihood ratio for a positive one is, 1 point. Memorize. It's 9 pala, likelihood ratio. So, likelihood ratio of 9. Medyo mataas. Ayan. So, what you do is actually just to connect this one to, you just connect the likelihood ratio, you just connect the pretest probability and the likelihood ratio and then extrapolate it. So, say for example, this one, wala akong ruler Tayo na natin, ha? Alright. So, as you can see, the post-test probability, sa calculation natin, it was 0.91. Right? Post-test. Ayan, this one. 0.91. Okay? Tapos, ang sa post-test negative is 0.19. Okay? So, 0.91. So, tingin mo, post-test, almost, di ba? Right. Okay. What about sa post-test na negative? So, the likelihood ratio was, what was it again? 0.21. The same pa rin ang pre-test. Okay. So, ang 0.53 as is, no? 0.53. Tapos, ang isa is 0.21. So, lagyan natin nandito. Yan. Now, if we were to extend it, oops. Let's see. Ayusin. 1, 2. Oops. Ayan. Ayun. See? Kung giayos natin siya, you will see that with the extrapolation that it more or less hit 20. Same lang, diba? So, that's how you do appraisal. It means that using SIS in detecting dementia in elderly patients, no, with clinical dementia, actually turns out to be a good tool to diagnosing the disease. Okay? Balik natin doon sa threshold. Okay. Again, ang threshold natin, ang upper threshold na nag-positive siya is naasa 91%, which is way above the 75. And so, it means na kung positive siya, more than 95 siya, more than 75 siya, that means you have to no further testing needed treat the patient. Yan. So, walay pagduha-duha. Yun na yun. And you also find out, right, na the lower threshold, yung negativity niya, is just 0.19. Hindi siya lumampas ng 0.25. And if that happens, that means you also do not need further testing. You know why? Because the patient's disease is ruled out. Walang dementia ang patient. So, kung it turns out na nag-negative ang patient using the SIS, that means wala talaga siyang dementia. Now, the problem is if it stays here. Say, ang result is 0.36 for the negative, tapos ang kanyang post-test probability, lagay natin na siya sa 72. That means, pag in between, that means this is the gray zone, no? You need further work up, and you do not treat, right? Do not treat yet. Hana. Alright? So, actually, madali lang. It will be helpful. I hope you learned. Please answer the quiz. I will send you the link sa email niyo. Alright? Thank you and good night.